Hello, children. Today we are going to start with our lesson number 5, which is traders to rulers. Children, Europeans used to carry on trade along the overland route of East. But unfortunately, what happened was that in 15th century, this route was blocked by the Turks. Now, being smart enough, Europeans discovered new sea routes to the east. In 1498, Vasco da Gama of Portugal sailed round the Cape of Good Hope and landed at Calicut on the Malabar coast in South India. This profitable trade by Portugal attracted other Europeans too to overseas trade with the East. So, by the end of the 16th century, this trade with the East began to fetch enormous profits. Next, they allowed various groups of merchants to start trading companies with monopoly to trade with the East. Children, by monopoly, they meant that they started these companies with few exclusive rights. Therefore, no other merchants in these countries could participate in the Eastern trade, and in return, the rulers took a share of profits. The trading companies involved the English East India Company. It was established when Queen Elizabeth I of England issued a written statement of rights granting its founders monopoly to trade with the East. Similar East India companies were founded by the Dutch and the French. These companies set up trade settlements in the East by purchasing goods in the bulk at the cheapest possible prices with the gold and silver they brought from Europe. So the Mughal ruler Jahangir permitted the English East India Company by issuing a royal order known as Farman to establish trade settlements in India. The English trade settlements were run by the company's recruits called factors and hence called factories. Now, children, see, usually factories are meant to be the manufacturing units, but here a factory was not a place to manufacture. Rather, it consisted of a godown for goods, an office for maintaining records, or residential quarters for the company's servants. The company traded in Indian textiles, indigo, saltpeter, and spices such as pepper, cardamom, cinnamon, and cloves. Children, saltpeter is basically a substance used in making gunpowder. So, children, in early 17th century, the first English factories in India were set up at Masulipatam and Surat. And by the end of the 17th century, the English established three residencies centered at Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta. Madras was fortified and named as Fort St. George, and I explained you earlier. Calcutta was fortified and named as Fort William. The French established its settlements at Pondicherry, Mahe, Chandanagar, and Karyagal. The breaking up of Mughal Empire by the middle of 18th century provided ideal conditions for the English and French to establish political influence in India. Students, now we will study that how, with a well-trained army at their disposal, the British rapidly transformed themselves into a big political power in India. So the first step towards British political supremacy was their conquest of Bengal. Children, in Bengal, the English East India Company established its first trade settlement at Hooghly around 1651. Its trade turned to be quite profitable here, but when it violated trade rules, Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb couldn't bear it and declared war on the company and defeated its forces. Later, he permitted company to trade duty-free in return for an annual payment, which means that they could trade without any import tax or any other tax, but in return they had to deliver them annual payments. Now in 1690, Job Shernock established an English factory at a place called Sotanuti, which was later fortified or improved to protect it from local revolts and attacks, and was named as Fort William. Soon after, this company was granted the right to collect revenue, that is the zamindari of Sotanuti and two other villages. Settlement of Fort William along with these three villages later came to be called as Calcutta. Now see, as the trade was climbing the stairs of success, the conflict between the company and the Nawabs of Bengal was also increasing day by day. Trade in Bengal fetched enormous profits for the company as goods from Bengal form much of the English imports from Asia. As I just explained you people that the company had the right to duty free trade, but unfortunately the company's servants misused this right. They misused it by carrying on illegal private trade and not paying the trade duties payable by the individual merchants. Now, this caused a heavy loss of revenue to the Nawab of Bengal. Till the mid 18th century, Nawab Murshid Quli Khan and Nawab Ali Vardi Khan of Bengal kept strict control over the European traders and resisted any change in European trade settlements. Siraj ud Dawla succeeded Ali Vardi Khan as Nawab in 1756. He drove the English out of Calcutta for expanding fortifications against his orders and misusing trading rights. But Robert Clive soon took charge of the company's forces in Bengal and restored the company's earlier position and trade privileges by not so trustworthy and unreliable means. Children, Robert Clive is quite a negative character in our Indian history. Clive bribed some of the important members of Siraj's court, including the General Mir Jafar. So Clive's unfair means ultimately led to the Battle of Plaze in 1757. Mir Jafar withdrew his troops from the battlefield and Siraj was defeated and killed. The company made Mir Jafar the new ruler in return for a large sum of money, the zamindari of 24 parganas in Bengal, and right to free trade. Now, see, this victory at Plaze transformed the company from a mere trading institution to a political force in Bengal. It also exposed the weakness of the Indian political system and began the process of British colonization of India. But then, unfortunately, Mir Jafar failed to meet the company's heavy monetary demands. So, in 1760, the company deposed Mir Jafar and made son in law Mir Kazim the Nawab of Bengal. In return, Mir Kazim gave the company the zamindari of Bardwan, Midnapur, and Chittagong. Now, when Mir Kazim came into the rule, he placed few limits on the trade privileges of the company. And therefore, the company declared war on him and defeated him in 1763. And ultimately, Mir Jafar was restored as the Nawab of the Bengal. Mir Kazim entered into an alliance with Nawab Shuja ud Dawla of Awadh and Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II, who was then living in Awadh. The British defeated the combined forces at Buxar in 1764. By this victory, the British established unquestioned authority over Bengal and considerable influence over the ruler of Awadh and the Mughal emperor. Now, children, let's see that what were the results of this Battle of Buxar. After Mir Jafar's death in 1765, the new Nawab of the Bengal handed over the powers of military and criminal jurisdiction to the company. In the same year, Clive restored Awadh to Shuja ud Dawla. In return, Shuja ud Dawla paid a sum of money and ceded the districts of Kora and Allahabad to the company. Awadh became a buffer state, that is a neutral zone, which would save Bengal from the direct impact of an invasion from the northwest. So now in 1765, Shah Alam II granted the company the office of revenue collector, that is Diwani of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha on a permanent basis. In return, the company gave him Kora and Allahabad and an annual tribute. Hence, Shah Alam II began to live in Allahabad under the company's protection. Now, the company was the virtual ruler of Bengal, with full control over revenue collection and military and criminal jurisdiction. It used part of revenue from Bengal to purchase Indian goods, meet administrative costs, and maintain their troops. Children, now you can figure out yourself that this Battle of Buxar had such an awful impact. The Nawab's office was reduced to a position of responsibility without any control over the resources. The company enjoyed power without any responsibility. This system of dual government lasted till 1772 and Bengal suffered a lot under this. Increasing oppression by the company's servants forced many people to abandon their lands and flee into jungles. This continued even when a severe famine struck Bengal in 1770. On the contrary, while Bengal suffered, the company's servants grew prosperous. Most of them came from very humble backgrounds and received low salaries, but many of them acquired enormous wealth from illegal private trade in Bengal. And at last, in 1772, Warren Hastings became the governor of Bengal and ended the system of dual government and brought Bengal under the direct control of the company. So, this was it, children. I hope you understood the chapter and please keep revising.